Back for another stream very recently after the first one. I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter than usual because I'm very tired, as you can probably tell. And yeah, my voice is obviously not keeping up with me either. We're going back to feeling blue, which is nice. Let me just do my checks as always. Let's get the chat popped out. There we go. Welcome in, welcome in. The chat on screen is still not working. I don't know why it does it. As I said, I think I'm gonna have to set up Streamlabs or something because it's like I have to change the browser source every single time. It's weird. But yeah, Feeling Blue's back. We're gonna be doing the regular Feeling Blue. Sorry, I'm so tired. I'm like trying to figure out what's going on in my brain. Yeah, we're going to be doing the regular Feeling Blue where we take our 7 points. And there's some interesting things to talk about in this game. Some certain players that perform very, very well that I didn't expect to play well, and some that played less than adequately that we can kind of talk about. But let's go into the thing. Firstly, let's actually get this preamble over. Let me quickly go into this. Before we start into the actual points, let's kind of put some context around this game. So now, I spoke about this earlier, but if we look at the Premier League table, we are now still in second place, but we're 2 points off of Liverpool, who are in first, and their next game that they've got in hand against us is against Spurs, who have just absolutely hammered Southampton. That could be a game that they draw, possibly, so we might be able to gain points on them again. We go to Everton next in the league, but before that we have a game against is it Shamrock Rovers, I believe, in the Conference League. Hopefully I haven't got that wrong. Let me just quickly check that just in case. Yeah, Shamrock Rovers on Thursday. So oh, great. Great result for us because not only is this, as I've kind of mentioned before, a bit of a bogey game for us. Brentford have always been a bit of a bogey team for us, and I've kind of always scammed results against us in previous years, and they almost nearly did again in this game if it weren't for some certain heroics from a certain player that I'm going to mention in a bit. But yeah, it's good for us to be winning, and it was a good feeling for us to win a game where as I said, last season we would not have won this game. We've won this game. We've kept our momentum up. We've broken that 5-game curse of not winning against Brentford, and now we can kind of move on, and hopefully we can kind of just as I said, keep this momentum going, because our run in the next few games is actually quite relatively easy, I would say, in terms of games that we should be winning. So we can take that momentum and keep running with it whilst other teams are kind of struggling through their fixtures. Very, very good. But yeah, let's get into the points. And spoiler alert, there is obviously the way that I do this, just in case any of you guys that are watching this are new. We have our 3 boxes for good feelings, bad feelings, and medium feelings, and I will go through and point out 7 things from the game which I personally feel go into these, and then at the end we vote as a collective for who will be our true blue and player of the match, that type of thing. So, as I said, 6 of the points are going in this first box. There's only one thing going in this bad box, and nothing going in the medium box. And though I'm going to be talking about other points as well, these are the main ones that I want to highlight. I think the first one to start at is someone that I think genuinely won us this game. And that is Robert Sanchez. Now, I gave him a lot of flack before the game, actually, and we were talking on the pre-match stream about how he might be getting replaced and how who would we talk about for being a replacement for Sanchez. Well, he was absolutely phenomenal today, like genuinely phenomenal today. This is the type of Sanchez that we've seen in the past in kind of patches, but we don't see it consistently enough, and we see that kind of shakiness from him. This was a world-class performance from Sanchez, and to be quite honest, I genuinely think it's not an overstatement to say that this is his best ever game in a Chelsea shirt. Just some of the saves he made in this game were outstanding. His distribution was much improved. He wasn't blasting it out as ever. He was not risking things when we needed to kind of just play the ball long. And despite that he had one slight miscontrol, but he didn't really matter in the end of things. I just think he was just so good today. And it's funny because we don't get to see this from him very often, so it's good to see him doing this. But it's not just that, but not just the saves, not just the distribution. The one thing I really want to highlight, because it's so important against a team like Brentford that are so tall and that are so aerially dominant, his claims, his high ball claims in this game. Every single time they had a corner, he grabbed it. I just really wish we see this from him week in, week out, because he isn't consistent enough to be doing this week in, week out. And if he was, I wouldn't be saying like, hey, we need to get a new keeper. And I think a lot of people would kind of be like, cool, we can keep Sanchez. But today, on just today's merit, he was absolutely superb. Genuinely could have I'm actually kind of annoyed that he didn't get his clean sheet in this game from that break that Brentford obviously scored from in the end, because he was so good for the rest of the game, and it was just that one moment really. Let's move into another. This kind of links into that as well. I'm going to go for a player that I didn't even think would play. I don't think a lot of people would have expected him to play, but obviously Benoit Badiashile had some kind of injury before the game, and that's Tosin Adarabioyo. Now, I think this guy had such a good performance today, not just in terms of him, his defending and his distribution that we kind of already know is decent, his distribution. But the thing which I really want to highlight is again, like I just spoke about with Sanchez, his aerial duel win rate was absolutely superb in this game, and pretty much any ball that went near him, he won. I'm going to actually try and find the stat here as I talk about this, but obviously, as I said, Brentford's whole game plan is based around those kind of aerial battles and winning them, and if not winning them, winning the second ball. Let's see if I can find it here. How many aerials I think I believe it's like 9 out of 9. He won like 9 out of 9 aerial duels or something like that. Let me see this. 7 out of 7. 7 out of 7 aerial duels. He had 7 aerial duels and he won absolutely every single one of them. And against, as I said, against a team like Brentford that basically get all of their goals and a lot of their opportunities from either long balls or from set pieces, he had to be switched on today, especially in a game where not only did he probably not expect to be playing because the nature of Badiashile's late injury, but also the fact that he literally just played pretty much a full 90 in midweek anyway. So he was like the most tired player on the pitch, and he was outstanding. Again, I think that not just the aerial duels as well though, but he was just really good in terms of his defending today. I think he might have been able to do a little bit better for the goal, but so can Levi Colwill, so can Sanchez. I'm not going to put that solely on blame on him. He stepped up today, and as one of the leaders of this team, it was really good to see him actually kind of stepping up and providing such a good performance. Likewise, let's talk about who should we go to next? Let's talk about Nicholas Jackson. Now, I felt so justified because I was on Twitter as this game was playing out, and when Jackson missed that quote unquote sitter earlier in the game, I saw so many people slating him, so many people saying, "Oh, he's not good enough. We need to get Gyökeres in January." All this stuff, right? And then he immediately shuts them up by scoring an absolute peach of a goal with a very good assist from Enzo Fernandez as well, who I'm not going to be putting in one of these boxes, unfortunately, but another goal contribution for him is good. And it's just one of those things where I always mention this with Jackson, is that he has two modes. He either has... He basically never has the worst of two worlds. He either has a good performance and doesn't score, or he has a bad performance and he still gets a goal. And I think that latter one is kind of what he had today, where he wasn't the greatest in terms of he was snatching chances a lot, but he was still getting into those positions over and over again, and obviously trying to dribble past half the team at times and hold the ball up, and we know how good his hold up play and his link up play is. But just the persistence to keep going, especially after he was frustrated in the last game for not getting a goal, and you could see that he's that type of player that does get frustrated at himself when he doesn't score. For him to keep his calm, keep his cool, and then be able to dispatch such a clean finish to win us the game, is really impressive to me. And yeah, again, long may it continue because he just keeps scoring goals, and hopefully that just keeps going on and on and on, and we don't have to worry about having to get a new striker, like most people are suggesting we need to. Let's move on to. Let's move on to this is a joint point. I do these at times, and it's going to be a joint point for Jadon Sancho and Noni Madueke, because I think our wingers today were so important because of how we played, and I'll go more in depth in this when I do my breakdown tomorrow, or probably the day after. I'm not sure when that will come out. But the fact that we were basically having to rely on crosses in this game, and we were having to rely so heavily on the wide areas because of how narrow and kind of hard to beat Brentford were being centrally. We really needed these two to step up and actually provide attacking threat from those wide areas, and they really did. And though I feel like Madueke was a bit frustrating to me today because of his decision making not being the greatest at times, I think Sancho could have pulled the trigger a few more times rather than kind of trying to pick out his teammates as well. But I think they both were inventive. They were both forward thinking, and obviously Madueke getting the assist in the end for Cucurella. Really, really good from him. That ball was an absolute peach. And you know what? I'll actually put Cuckoo in here as well. So I'm putting Cuckoo in here, and I'm tempted to demote him down to medium because he gets a red card at the end of the game. But to be honest, I don't really blame him for that. Goal, as I usually say, if you get a goal contribution, you go into this box for the most part. The goal is superb, and obviously it gets us off the mark, and it's such an important time for us to score right at the end of the half when we kind of felt like we were getting frustrated and weren't making inroads, and we kind of were wasting chances. For him to step up and to get that goal, obviously as a left back, is very important. But it's not just the goal. I think his performance overall today, his energy throughout the entire game, not only to defend and get back and try and like help us out obviously in the transition, but to get up the pitch and make things happen, make the overlaps, make the underlaps, but also just be in the midfield, intercepting, snapping into tackles, and just being relentless all game. It's something you can't teach, and it's we kind of speak about this now, this kind of resurgence of Cucurella that we've seen now. I think that he has really, really stepped up and has solidified himself as a very, very good, if not one of the best in the league at left back. I personally think he's the best left back in the league at the moment, in terms of current form anyway. Maybe that will slip down. And obviously, as I said, he gets red carded at the end of the game, and he's going to miss the Everton game. But admittedly, if he's going to miss any game, the Everton game is a great one to miss, because I don't think they're particularly great. But yeah, he was absolutely superb, and he was pretty much everywhere today. Gets the goal to get us off the mark, and does the penguin celebration after he slipped over a couple of times in the other game, which I felt was funny, which is also why that's on the thumbnail. Speaking of that red card though, let's kind of talk about this. That's the one thing I'm putting in this bad box, because not only does it just put a bit of a damper on the game in general, and it's kind of like, that sucks, but I don't want to talk about these guys. I always say it, I don't want to talk about the referees. I hate talking about the referees, but they have such big main character syndrome. And it was Peter Banks, I believe, was the referee in this game. First of all, so he gives him a second yellow, right? The first yellow is not even a foul. I have no clue how the hell they've given it as a yellow card. He wins the ball cleanly. If there's a follow through, I don't think that matters. If you're winning the ball, it really shouldn't matter if there's a follow through. How can you can't just stop. Momentum is not a thing that just instantly stops. I think that rule, the follow through kind of ideology, is so stupid. You can't really help that. I don't think that's a foul at all, let alone a yellow card. The second one, he gives a yellow card for him slightly pushing someone after the whistle. I think it's utter nonsense, and I think that it's literally just the referee going, you know what, I haven't made a horrendous massive decision today to get my name in the headlines. Let's do this. And he does this, and he sends him off. And it's just bullshit, because we can't appeal it, because it's not a straight red. We can't appeal it. It's a second yellow. I think it's completely just, again, it's just one of those things where it's just like, the referee was having a bad game anyway. Like the 7 added minutes, I think, is ridiculous. I think there should have only been around 4 because of Flecken getting injured. Apart from that, there wasn't really many stoppages in the game. The game was so high octane and so quick that for the most part, when the ball went out, it came back in very quickly. I just think that, again, it's just one of those things where I don't like talking about the referees, but they always want to get involved and they always want to ruin things. Where we have such a good performance here today, and it's like we want to be celebrating it, but we can't. We have to think about, oh well, one of our best players in this game has now been sent off and is not going to be available for the next game against Everton. And it's just needless, completely needless. But yeah, that's the only thing I'm going to be putting in here. The last player I'm going to be talking about is a player that I constantly say is the best midfielder in the league. I constantly say is genuinely unplayable. Today, I think we have a very big case for Moises Caicedo is an absolutely generational footballer. I do not think there is another player on this earth that does what he does better than him. I genuinely do not believe that there is a single person that can hold a candle to him in world football. In either the men's game or the women's game, in their respective leagues, there is no one better than Caicedo at this current time in his position. There just isn't. This guy was absolutely everywhere. Like, anytime Brentford decided, hey, you know what, we're going to actually try and get it past our first third, he was like, no, sorry, that's not happening. Every single time. I genuinely lost count of how many times he intercepted the ball or tackled someone or snapped into win an aerial ball that was going over the top. He was just everywhere. And he's doing this on his own as a lone six, which is kind of crazy because you kind of see this type of performance from midfield duos. Like, obviously we saw that with when we had Kante and Matic, that kind of midfield duo, we saw them doing that, but he does it on his own because Enzo is far up the pitch pressing, Palmer is far up the pitch pressing, Sancho and Madueke are far up the pitch pressing, and actually that's something I wanted to talk about these two as well. I think their work rate today was really, really good, especially Sancho. I think his work rate to track back was really, really good. But genuinely, I just don't, I say it every single time I put him in this box, I'll just run out of superlatives to talk about this guy, because he is so young, and it feels so funny that we paid Brighton upwards of 100 million for him, and it feels like we lowballed them. It genuinely does. It genuinely feels like we have gotten an absolute steal, and we paid over 100 million for this guy. Every single week he puts in this type of performance, and it's just like, I think it's we see it on Twitter a lot, that people are always posting his ratings. I don't think he's had a rating that has not been green for like 20 weeks or something like that. I genuinely don't think he's had a bad game. He has not had I genuinely don't think he's had a bad game since about January of last year. He's consistently been one of the best players in the league, one of our best players, and in my opinion, our best player for that entire duration. Obviously, people will argue Cole Palmer because of his goals and assists, but I think Caicedo is so much more important just because he is just the linchpin, he's the anchor, and as I kind of spoke about with the that's the Discord going off very late. As I kind of spoke about with the Samuel Raksaki analysis that I did a couple of days ago, you need your player in that role to be so calm, measured, and collected, and just know what he's doing all the time. And Caicedo just basically plays the game at his own pace, and no one can keep up with him. Genuinely, no one can keep up with him. I think he's the best player in the league in terms of a midfielder. I don't think there's anyone that holds a candle to him at all. And again, I just run out of things to say about this bloke, because every single time he plays, it's a 7 or 9 out of 10 every single time. Like, genuinely. But yeah, those are my 7 points. I have done 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. We're going to vote for our true blue. So I'll be putting a poll in the chat so you guys can vote. I've got to remember how to do this because it's been a while. There you go. So I'm going to put in 4 options. I'm going to put in the players that I personally think, because we've got more than the 4 options. So I'm going to put in the players which I personally think have a shout for the man of the match. And then I'm going to choose one of the wingers, and I think I'm going to choose Sancho over Madueke. Because I just feel like he was a bit better, despite him not actually getting a goal contribution. Yeah, I don't think Levi had a particularly bad game, but I feel like he did switch off for their goal, and he was kind of the one that was always playing people on side. That's kind of been an issue of his in general throughout his kind of tenure here. Overall, I don't think he was particularly poor. I think his crossing in particular today, I think was actually quite good. His kind of deep crossing from the left hand side, because we opted to cross more. And as I said, when I kind of break down this game for the tactical breakdown afterwards, I'll talk about that a bit more, and a bit more succinctly once I've gathered my thoughts properly. I'm not just rambling on a live stream. But yeah, I think I think for the most part both of our centre backs were good. I just put Tosin in more because I feel like not only did he have to play 2 games in a row, and he was probably absolutely shattered by the end of this, but he wasn't expecting to play, and he actually just like really stepped up. Yeah, there was one block in particular I saw that he did. And I can't remember who shot it was. I think it was a Damsgaard shot. He blocks on the line, which was really good from Colwill. But as again, I just kind of minus him points because it was kind of his fault that the I think it was Mbuemo was played onside. But apart from that, yeah, people. That's the thing. Twitter is funny, right? People are gonna say like, "Oh, Palmer didn't have a good performance." I genuinely think that in the second half, Palmer was so good. I don't think he was particularly great in the first half because he wasn't getting on the ball as much. In the second half, he was absolutely superb. I think when I checked just now to check Tosin's stats, I think he is the 3rd highest rated player in the in the team, despite not getting a goal contribution, which is kind of crazy. No, you're not. You're actually not wrong. That's genuinely a thing. Is that like, Brentford have been one of our like weaker teams in recent times. I said this is the first time in the space of 6 games that we've actually beaten them. The last 5 games against Chelsea and Brentford have been either draws or losses to them. So we are finally getting over that bogey team. And Spurs kind of always play into our hands because we've always been a team that kind of strives when teams try and attack us and don't sit back. And we've always been the whole thing that people have always said about Chelsea is that we struggle to break down low blocks. So any team that is like a Brentford or like a Notts Forest, those kind of really stalwart defenses that like to counter attack you, we've usually don't do very well against them. Whereas teams like Tottenham, which actually kind of go, hey, we're going to press up to the halfway line and throw everything at you, we actually do much better against those types. Hopefully we do not struggle against Everton, who are our next game, who also play a bit of pragmatic football under Sean Dyche, but they did shut out Arsenal, so maybe they can do the same for us. But then again, we don't rely on strictly on corners to get our goals, so maybe not. But yeah, you guys have voted for your true blue. My voice is absolutely giving out. I'm going to end the poll here whilst I take a sip of my coffee. And who has won? Oh, it's very close, but Caicedo has won. Personally, I would have given it to Caicedo as well. I think he was absolutely electric today. And it's always electric. As I said, Cucurella kind of gets points docked off because he got sent off at the end of the game, but there we go. That's what we have to deal with. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out as ever. I will keep you guys updated with the whole situation around the Discord and stuff. At some point soon. As I said, tomorrow or the day after, probably the day after. I might give myself my voice a bit of a rest tomorrow. I'll be doing the breakdown for this game tactically because there were some cool nuances that we got to see in this game. I'm struggling through his outro. I still don't have the outro thing set up because I wasn't really expecting to do this, so there we go. But yeah, as I said, thank you guys for hanging out. I'll still be a bit active on my Twitter. Twitter links will be down in the description as always. And yeah, enjoy your evenings. I'm gonna go and drink. I'm gonna go drink my coffee and try not to have strep throat. So yeah.